Ooh, wait, what old boy say? Hide your kids, hide your wife. Bullets are flying and people are dying. Like, come on, man. Let's tighten up. Welcome back to Supremely Black Podcast. This is your host, D Rose. Now, you already know exactly what we're going to be talking about. This is that it looks as if that Donald Trump will be our 47th president. Kamala Harris, at this particular moment, as I'm recording this video, I think is preparing her commencement speech to come out and address the media. She chose not to last night. Now, I know that there were some very serious things, so this isn't to make light of anything of how anybody felt about the election. There was some very pivotal things that were voted upon. People feel strongly whether you're a Democrat, Republican, independent party, you name it, right? There was a lot of different things, but for me, this is just my take on it. With Donald Trump being the 47th president, we don't know what will come with that. We've seen exactly other things that have occurred since Joe Biden has been in office and being our 46th president. So there's always going to be some optimism, and then there's always going to be some people with a pessimistic approach. It's just new for me. Just to kind of give you some insight, I wasn't on social media for almost 10 years, over 10 years. Like, I got off of social media when I started with corporate America when I was 20 years old. I'm 33 now. So at that particular time, it's like, I didn't get where all the fuss was about. Even when we created the podcast channel, that was 2 or 3 different people that were using their Instagram. So I really didn't get to see of what it looked like from a social media perspective and how serious people took it. And one of the things that was alarming to me was that how people was like, if you voted this way or that way, we can't be friends. Now, I could understand if you had different political views and you didn't know it, but if you consider somebody your friend, how is every 4 years that determining factor? To me, that seems disingenuous and fake, because we could have different views and still be cool. That's actually what makes people actually have a real bond, because me personally, in my circle, I don't have a bunch of yes men and a bunch of yes women around me that's just kissing my ass and wanting and agreeing with everything. And I think what makes our relationship actually strong is that we don't see things the same way. And I understand that people may have a little bit more of a personal approach to it with it being politics, but it's hard for me to separate those two, because for me, I wasn't raised in a family that voted. Regardless of their reasons, but for one that I don't mind sharing is that my mom's side of the family, they're Jehovah's Witnesses, so they don't see anyone above God as governing, and they consider voting is like worshiping a human, a man. So I was raised on those principles. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't start to truthfully get into politics until I was older and learning of what's really going on. And what really got me into it, it was actually in Orlando, Florida. This is the first time I think Trump was running. Had a lot of things going on. So personally, I had someone I considered like a godmother had took me to church, and I had heard that the pastor was actually speaking about politics, right, in the church. It threw me off because, again, never heard that approach, never known that was something that was mentioned. So me being somebody without social media, I'm still like in awe, like, bro, we got pastors talking about politics. And now you fast forward to 2024, and I actually went to church this past Sunday to see again, okay, 8 years later, I wonder if that is still a thing. And it's even more prevalent now in church. And I can't fault anyone for saying, okay, I'm going to be voting based off of my biblical views, right? I don't claim any denomination. The church that I actually had visited, both of them were non-denominational. I don't consider myself Muslim, Christian, Jehovah's Witness, anything like that. I'm just speaking of my upbringing. But it's still very hard for me to understand of how people have gotten to a point to where politics has turned into, for lack of better words, hatred from either side. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if you're truthfully standing on the side of unity, you have to know that there's going to be a winner. There's no way that they can say, you know what, we're going to take Kamala for these particular policies and we're going to take Donald Trump for these particular policies. If your heart is in the place of we have to unify and be together and understand that there's going to be some things that you like on one side and some things that you don't like on the other side. That's just part of life. So I've seen people maybe even piss some people off, but just keeping it real, I can be and I am somebody that's considered myself pro-black in regards to there's nothing wrong with having respect and holding your group of people or community that you grew up in to a higher standard. That doesn't mean that I'm prejudiced. I'm not rich enough to be racist in any ways, but there are certain things that I really stand by. Some people you want to, coin it as pro-black. I just think I love my people, and that's what I'm used to. And I've just seen it now. It ain't that. And this is just my unbiased opinion, regardless of red or blue. I just think people have gotten too emotionally attached to it, and you've allowed them to take too much of your energy. And that's just not something, not saying I don't care, because there are things that are going to have came about my entire adult life that's going to affect either my money, policies that are put in place, laws that are put in place, a lot of different impacts. But my whole thing is that since I literally lived my life with thinking these three things is going to be, four specifically: God first, my family, health, and finances. And no matter who's in office, those are going to be my focuses. And I've always lived that way. That will never change. I don't care if the house is red or the house is blue or they make the motherfucker purple. Excuse my language, but that's just what it is. If they make the motherfucker purple, I'm still going to look at it the same way. And some people may not agree with that. And that's completely fine. But this message is to people that have went out and voted. Congratulations on exercising your right. For the ones that didn't, I do hope that you're able to cope with not making your decision to vote. And if you look at the polls and you see there was not a huge turnout, I will say this to kind of speak towards the polls. The black people, black men specifically, did come out and support Kamala at an extremely high rate. When I last looked at it, I think of our percentages, I think 88% of black people voted for Kamala. So we can kind of debunk some of that stuff where black men would never want we were raised by, not all of us, but a lot of us that grew up in poverty-stricken environments were raised by our mothers, whether that was because our father was locked up, whether he was ex-drug addict, or whether he just ain't shit and wasn't taking care of his responsibilities. We were raised by women. We love our aunties. We love our grandmothers. Those are the people that we probably spent the most time with if you didn't have male figures around. And they was out working and making it happen. So you probably have spent most of your time with a black woman. So that whole thing can be debunked. But just to get back to my point, I don't think that arguing or spewing hatred is going to make America a better place. And I'm also of the belief that who's in the House is not going to drastically change making America a better place. What I think will make it change is that me, speaking to myself, is that if you be the best person that you can actually be and you are moving in unison with people that move and groove exactly how you do, and you partner with other people and understand that there's going to be differences, there's going to be things that we are not going to agree with, and that's completely fine. But if we have an agenda that we need to put in place or move on, my question and my concern would be is that could we get past not agreeing with each other and actually get into an actual goal so that we can put things in place and hold these politicians accountable from a local level all the way up into a presidential thing? Because I feel as if that from what I've seen with, again, this is my first time being on social media completely during an election, is that we're going to be too focused on arguing about who voted and who didn't vote and why they voted, instead of saying, okay, this 4 years, we got the next election coming up in 2028, right? We have probably another local one coming up in 2 years. Who are the people that we're actually putting in these places that are going to control our everyday lives and not just the overall focus on the presidential election? Or even better, if you're tapped in with the grassroots organization that actually directly has boots on the ground in your community, that same energy that we have for the presidential election, now that it's over and the debates and the going back and forth, take that same energy and go meet with somebody that's in your community that's actually helping, and see how we can make tomorrow in our communities tomorrow a better place, and not waiting 4 years or 2 years just to vote on somebody in the system. And the reason why I say that is because what I've heard the most is that the system was never created for us to be equal. And I still kind of, it's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around why would we think that this system is going to help you. And I'll use it as a sports analogy to kind of even break it down even more, is if I'm preparing myself and my team to go out and beat you in football, right? I have my playbook, we have our headsets on. My goal is not to coach you on how to beat me. And if I feel like this system is not set up for me, they're not going to put anything in place that's going to help you beat me. And me being completely honest, and I may lose some people, some homeless, hunger, it is what it is. I don't think that that's going to be the way that that's going to change anything. It's going to take us being in unison and having real unity to move like the past has. And I hear often is that, okay, hey, we're not our ancestors. We're not. We can't even build together and even see some of the things that they've seen. Maybe social media doesn't help us when it comes to this particular platform. And again, I'm just an ignorant person just speaking. But from what I've seen since this election has been going on, that's not what I was on social media for, but that's a part of it. Everybody has their voice, right? But I would challenge everyone, regardless of how you may view whether you did Democrat or Republican, that the first thought should be God first, second thought should be family and community. The rest should be health and finances. If you can move with people that are looking at things in your life you the same way, regardless of what they may vote, then you must understand that there's going to always be differences. There's never going to be a perfect party. And I don't want people to just be saying the lesser of two evils because the evil is the evil. There's not a lesser evil. Once it's evil, it's evil. You feel what I'm saying? So I might be rambling here, but I just had to get this off my chest. If our focus is going to be making America a better place, making it to where we feel as if that everyone can live equal and being safe, arguing on social media is not going to accomplish that. And having to be completely on board with everything is not going to accomplish that. You're going to have some things that we say we agree on and we disagree on, but we need to get this actual thing done. And that's just my thoughts. Trump's the president, 47th president to be exact. As I'm speaking, today's November 6th. What's next? What we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? It's a challenge for me and myself and other people. Regardless of how you voted, now that a decision has pretty much been made, what's next? You can't just, okay, we won if you're a Trump supporter, or we lost, you're a Kamala supporter. Now is when it gets real. A win is a win, a loss is a loss, but it's how you bounce back. I just want to know, and again, these are just my thoughts, just how I was raised and how I view it. I feel like there was a lot of wasted energy in regards to how the outcome was, and it's not going to make it any better. But let me know what you think. Like I said, I'm just somebody ignorant playing smart. If that's what you want to call it. I'm just somebody ignorant talking, getting off my chest because this is what I've seen. This is my outlet, right? So let me know what you think. Drop the comments below. Did the voting go as you expected? Were you disappointed? And if you have one or already working on one, what's your actual action plan moving forward? If you're looking at it from a vote perspective, the next 2 years or the next 4 years, what are you actively doing within a community that's going to help people be in a better place? As always, long live CC. I'm out.